Hi everyone, welcome to February 2026. So what happened in February is that we broke a very important support at 83K. Why is it important? Because 83K is halfway between these very important levels of support and resistance, 103K and 64K. 83K was right between them. So if we want to progress towards 103K, the 83K needs to be established support. And if we want to go down to the 64K, then 83K support needs to be broken, and that got broken brutally, the 83K. So we're on a downtrend. That is what I expect in February. When you look at the chart, there is absolutely nothing in this chart that is telling us that we will be making a bull reversal anytime soon, because we made a lower low to the 21st of November low, which was a kind of a sacred low, because that low here stood the test of time for several months. So from 21st of November to 21st of December is 1 month, to 21st of January 2 months, 2 months and a couple of days. And that support got broken. So if that big support got broken, that means that we're on a downtrend. It's just common sense. Anything that happens to the upside, I expect to be locally and to be fake outs. So swing traders like me, I trade Charlie Munger style, which means researching hard and entering positions very rarely in the year. I enter positions on the swing dates and with vast amount of money. For other people, they're not a lot of money, but for me, they are a lot of money, right? So basically, whatever I can afford. Right, so I'm waiting for a swing bottom date. At this moment in time, I don't see a swing bottom date in February. If I see a swing bottom date, I research every single day. If I see a swing bottom date, I will inform those of you who bought the February forecast. I will send you a DM straight away if I identify a swing bottom date in February. That will take us up for at least 1 month, right? That's what I call a swing date, by the way. And if you have bought your February forecast, drop me a DM to say hi, because I'm not sure that I have the accounts for all of you, and I definitely don't have time to be going around Twitter looking for people's accounts. So just say hi quickly, and then if I identify a swing bottom date in February, I will message it to you. At this moment in time, I haven't identified a swing bottom date. There are pivots in every month, and these are entirely separate matter. I have very little interest in these monthly pivots. One such pivot is the 2nd or the 3rd of February. It's not here on the chart, but I got it from other cycles, so keep that in mind. 2nd or 3rd of February could be a potential top, right? That's the pivot I got in terms of time pivot. I know it doesn't make any sense. Looking at the chart, it really doesn't make sense. So that's why this month we have a downtrend, and it identifying local pivots is like squeezing orange from an orange that has already been squeezed. It's very little that the month can offer to us. And you can see here, it doesn't make any sense to be looking at the 2nd and the 3rd of February as a local top. Right? We have around the 7th of February, we have 7 and 8 of February looking low. Again, that fractal doesn't show them out. I'll discuss this fractal in a minute. So 7 and 8 are looking low. I have written that in your chart around the 7 and 8. that I'm expecting some lows. Have a look here, because Bitcoin is entering Chandrashtama in that time. So in terms of cycles, I repeat again, I said that in January and I'm saying that in February. Since October, a lot of cycles have gotten validated. So since October, my workload has increased several times because I can no longer trust 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cycles. I used to work with six cycles before, and I no longer trust them because they all got invalidated in October. So I had to increase the number of cycles that I'm working with, and as I increase them, a lot of them tend to contradict each other. So it is very difficult to be nailing local moves, right? All of this unexpected stuff that happened in October. There is no astro cycle that brought that top in October. You know, we know the counting there of the halving. The halving cycle is the only one that forecasted that 6th of October top. The astro cycles didn't manage to do that. So my cycle was 10th of October. Those of you who had the monthly time frames forecast from last year, I gave you the date 10th of October. I said around that date, but when I actually narrowed down around the 10th of October, actually my top ended up being after the 10th of October in my forecast for October, and that's how I ended up getting screwed and I got trapped. And it took me forever to get out of my long positions on Ethereum and on Bitcoin, because every single month we had historical probabilities that we will close on green. That was October. We had very highly strong historical probabilities. Historically, it has closed only a couple of times on red. The rest of the time it has closed on green. They screwed us in October. November again, very high probabilities, again closed lower. December closed lower, and look at that, January closed lower. So all of that is against any cycles. We've never had such bad cycles at the end of the year. So for that reason, I do not trust the cycles that much, and I'm navigating myself every single day on the charts. I'm looking at the candles, I'm looking at the TA, I'm looking at the price levels as well. And again, I'm using my cycles and I'm using my time trading skills. But no longer I can tell you now. How can I tell you that the second and the third are looking high when we see at the moment, at this moment in time when I'm recording this video, we don't see any evidence of the trend getting reversed whatsoever. So why should I make a fool of myself and tell you, well, I'm expecting a pivot in the first week of February? You know, I cannot tell you that, because that it would be against common sense, and that would be verging on madness, really. Right. So now, if you want to know the cycles, you can stay longer in the video. For those of you who don't have time to watch the video, I'm telling you from the beginning that I'm expecting a downtrend in February, and with no identified swing bottom date yet, meaning that it's highly unlikely that we'll get a swing bottom date in February. Okay. Cycles in terms of astrology. Yes, just before I move to that, I wanted to tell you that on Twitter, I gave you weekly time frame forecast. So some people have been messaging me, are you ready with the video? When is the video coming? Etc. etc. Well, this video needs a lot of thinking. You know, I cannot just keep producing forecasts and producing them like a machine. I'm not a machine. All of these considerations, they take a lot of thinking and sitting on them. Sitting on a problem is much more productive than thinking about the problem intensely, like make myself a nice hot drink and read something completely different, and then the ideas start coming up. I'm a mature person. I really know what I'm doing and how I'm managing my my practice. So you just need to trust me. If there is no forecast, that means that the egg is not ready to hatch. And I'm only producing this forecast now because I know that people are expecting it. It is a downtrend. What more can you really say about that? So in terms of weekly forecast, right, I have given you the weekly forecasts. These are the weekly forecasts here. And that is why I kind of felt very comfortable that you know what you're doing, because you got the weekly forecast, so you're not completely left alone. You know, I have given you the weekly time frames forecast. 6th of February to close on a green, but means higher than the 30th of January because this is a weekly time frame forecast. 75% historical probability. That's your weekly forecast. Done. And then 15th of February to close higher. Suddenly the probability drops back to 63%, and the first week that 63% probability to close higher didn't materialize. And then because it didn't materialize, we look back in the past to identify in which previous years Mars in Aquarius in the first week dumped hard. And we can see very clearly 2022 and 2014. That's when Mars in Aquarius dumped hard. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong. That's when Mars in Aquarius dumped hard. So that the conclusion is the cycle, the 4-year cycle, is alive and well and in full operation. You can see it here. This is week 1, right? Hard dump, 2014, 2022. Go and listen to the cycle extensioners if you want, but this is what I listen to. So what we're waiting now to see is if in the second week we're still gonna follow. Now second week 2022 is different. Second week 2022 actually pumped. It just continued up in the second week. That is why here now we have a higher probability of closing higher in the second week, right? So if we close right, it will be easier to make the conclusion. If we close right, the conclusion is that we're following the 4-year cycle. We just straight down. If you're closing green, the conclusion is, be very careful how we're going to make the conclusion. The conclusion is that whatever we're doing is not exactly as it was on the 4-year cycle. That is the conclusion. The conclusion is not, oh yeah, we're going bullish. It's just not exactly what we're doing in the 4-year cycle. And then, so that's your weekly time frames forecast. And then if you want, you can check it with 2 other cycles that are making weekly time frames forecast. One of them is Venus in why do they have to be Venus in Aquarius. And what we got in Venus in Aquarius is 7th of February to close lower. So that contradicts Mars in Aquarius. 7th of February to close lower 53% of the time historically has happened. And again, in what years that has happened? Well, that has happened in 2018 and 2014. Right? But then it has happened in some other years as well. That's why the percentages managed to get to 53. And then look at that, Venus in Aquarius. For 2 weeks in a row, it is closing against the historical probability. It was 60% for the first week, we closed lower. 67% to close on a green, again we closed lower. So far, we have very strong evidence for the past 2 weeks that who are we following? Which cycle are we following? 2018 and 2014. Because that is the only time when week 1 of Aquarius dumped hard. Oh, and dumped hard in 2015 as well. Right? So we have very small odds of making any up moves in February. Despite the historical performance of February, that February tends to be a very bull month, right? It's one of the most bullish months in the history of Bitcoin. But that will not be surprising if they break that tradition, because that's what they do in 2025 with the month of October. The month of October was traditionally the most bullish month in Bitcoin's life. Only 2 previous Octobers have closed on a red. Was it 2 or 4? But very small number. Everything else was green closures, and they deliberately chose October to do their scam because they want to shake every bit of understanding that we have of historical cycles. They want to destroy that, and they want to make us feel very unsafe by destroying all of these known cycles to us. They want to make us completely at a loss. So for that reason, we benefit to follow the common sense TA every single day. At the moment, we're on a downtrend. There is absolutely no evidence whatsoever that we're making a bull reversal. And the same goes here. Now, you may want to know, are there any pivot dates here on those dates? Any pivot lows that exist? So let's have a look. So we're coming back here. Before I proceed for February, look how it let us down, this gun date on the 27th of January. That was meant to be a very big bottom. I had deliberately highlighted it as a very big bottom. And then what we got? We got a top on 27th of January, and from there on down. So that was a very big screwing here. How? Nothing. We cannot trust anything anymore. But I'm experienced, right? I don't throw my full trust in this. So when I saw here that we had 2 gun dates for a top in January next to each other, that's when I sold. I sold on 14. The top came 1 day later. The top came on the 14th, but that's perfectly fine. You don't have to sell exactly on the top. So it was a very good decision. I sold my Bitcoin and I sold my Ethereum on the 13th of January. Because I have learned from experience, don't wait until the last stop date that is identified. And also I had the TA for January. I don't have that chart in front of me right now with the bear flag, but you have seen it, identified that we're on a bear flag. This is the pole, and this is the flag. That was a bear flag, and I said it will be imploding any minute from now. And when I saw that high, because that was reaching the top of the bear flag, and we know that's how the bear flag works. Once it reaches the top level of the bear flag, then goes sharp down, and that's exactly how it panned out. So my decision, despite having a wrong forecast here, I made a good decision because what I'm using is common sense on TA. I'm monitoring the TA, applying common sense, and not trusting. I know people will then say, well, what's the point of buying these forecasts if we don't trust them? These forecasts serve as auxiliary. So for example, they did help me to sell here, didn't they? Because I saw it on the chart that it touched the top there of the bear flag. I saw that on the chart. And secondly, I'm seeing here in my cycles that I have 2 gun dates that are giving me a top, that are indicating me a top, so then I just go in. Okay. But I cannot just trade just these gun dates without using common sense and without observing the TA. That's what I mean by common sense. Okay, so let's see if we got any pivot now. In February, around the current time. So 1st of February. What gun dates do we have for 1st of February? So we have 2nd of February to be a top, 3rd of February to be a bottom. So basically they're defining a bottom. The gun dates are shaping a bottom. But they're saying that 2nd of February is expected to be high. And 3rd of February emerged from somewhere else. Around 2nd or 3rd we're expecting a high. But that's not what the eclipse cycle is saying. The eclipse cycle is saying that's gonna be a low. So a lot of contradictions between the cycles. The cycles are not converging on the same pivots in February. And what that means? That means that the trend continues. That there is no reversal of trend. In order to get a trend to reverse, you need to have 3-4 cycles converging on the same date, or at least on the same week, that they will be reversing. And we don't have that. Mercury, for example, is very important cycle, because when Mercury slows down, Mercury rules trade, and when Mercury slows down, then the price goes down, or at the best of times it remains on the same level. So what do we see here is that Mercury will be progressively slowing down throughout February, reaching the 0 point on 26th of February. Right? So this is a potential pivot low here when Mercury reaches the 0 point, because the minute Mercury increases in price, increases in speed, even if it is reversed, that still picks up the price. Right? So the 0 point will be reached on 24th of February. And that still picks up. After that, we're expecting a pickup of the price. But whether that will be a swing bottom, I'm not sure, because I do not have any other confluences telling me that. We have some more bearish events after that. Look at that. These are very serious bear aspects in the last week of February. So I really cannot use only the Mercury cycle there with the speed to identify a reversal point. Throughout the month, it's packed with bear events. I mean, crazy amount of bear aspects. And those 45 degrees aspects and the 52 degrees aspects are nasty. They're really nasty. And a lot of them for this month, right? Because the square, the 90-degree angle, is very simple. You get something brutal happening, and then because it's so bad, actually after that, as a reaction, the price goes up. But not with the 45 degrees. The 45 degrees work more subversively, more sneaky, and they drag the price action down after they have happened. So the 90-degree angle is a noble angle. It brings something bad, and then as a reaction to that, every single day after that is better. But with the 45-degree angle, it just keeps dragging really bad, keeps dragging down. You don't get that oomph after that. So it's a downtrend for February. That is what the aspects are showing to us. Slow speed of Mercury. That means, and speed decreasing as well. That means price going down as well. Will we have pumps? Yes, we will have pumps, because they have to liquidate short positions. So there will be pumps. When do you expect those pumps? Here are the highlighted dates. These are the historical dates when pumps have been produced. 1st of February, already getting invalidated. That had 80% probability of closing on green. And you can see today is nothing like that. Nothing like that. But anyway, it's only 3 o'clock now. We may end up closing on green. The next pivots. 9th of February, very high. Not pivot, sorry. It's not a pivot. It's more likely like a pump. Right? We have an indication here. 14th of February. 14th of February is one of the highest, it is day number one actually, the most bullish days in the Bitcoin's life, officially. 87% historical probability of closing on green. Very high. So again, a pump is possible around that date. Yeah, possible just before Mahashivratri. After that, from the 15th, Mahashivratri takes place, and then Mahashivratri has 75% historical probability of a downtrend after that. Now, because I have some colleagues monitoring my videos as well, now, you know, with these videos it's very tricky because the point of these videos is that my paying subscribers watch the updates, but I cannot make them secret because I don't have time to send links to people, and I don't want to hire admin to send links to people because I don't want to share your email addresses with anyone, just to be 100% sure. Even if the admin is a good quality person, they may get scammed. Somebody may enter their email address. So, you know, to be 100% sure, I will never be able to get an admin to support me on this job, and I don't have any time for admin. So for that reason, I cannot keep these videos hidden. A small number of viewers of these videos are not paying subscribers, and you know, there is nothing I can do about that, and that's fine as long as you're keeping quiet and you're not spreading this information around. Yesterday somebody on Twitter wrote something very sweet, like your channel is nice, blah blah, but just be mindful. You're probably new. I've made this statement on previous videos before. I don't want anybody on Twitter to know this video. This is for my paying subscribers. I'm revealing real cycles here, real pivots, real trend lines, so I don't really want that information. Anybody on Twitter shouldn't know that I have a YouTube channel. That is only for paying subscribers, this YouTube channel, right? So delete your tweet. I didn't want to embarrass you there in public, and also didn't want to draw attention. If I had replied, then immediately that would draw attention, but delete that tweet, and I don't want any more references to my YouTube channel on Twitter. Okay, so you got the weekly time frames. You got, those of you who have the Bitcoin forecast, you have the green dates, the historical green dates that are highlighted here. Okay. Let me see if there is anything else that I can help with. Yes, watch my tweets, because near the date I will send backtesting results for Mercury squaring Uranus. Mercury squaring Uranus, I have backtested already. Let me just show you the backtesting results. So Mercury squaring Uranus is showing that we have 63% historical probability of an uptrend before the event, 56% probability of closing on green, and 57% probability of the trend continuing to the upside. Now that is highly unlikely, because I have highlighted previous events when this aspect has taken place on similar degrees, and you can see that that's not what happened on those particular occasions. The trend was down on those particular occasions. 1, 2. On 3 particular occasions the trend was down, and on 2 of those occasions the trend was up. On 2 of those occasions we went up after that for a week, and on the rest of the occasions we went down. Again, mixed confluences, difficult to actually pinpoint exactly what's going to happen, but that is how it works in real life. Not every month we have cycles converging on the same dates. So far, the weekly time frames forecast is showing us that for the first week of February we're expecting up. That's what most of the cycles are showing, but not all. Not all cycles agree on that. So for example, the aspects don't agree with that. These 45-degree angles, this Mars is making a septile today to Saturn on the 1st of February. That's it. It invalidated a very serious historical probability. But I don't know in advance which cycle will be stronger. I know the 52-degree angles are really nasty, but you never know for sure which one will be stronger. We have some bull aspects here as well in the mix. So this is a month which is encouraging us to be mature adults and wait for the proper swing date. Not get tempted to enter temporary position. So because many people complain, they enter temporary position with the intent to exit very quickly after 1 or 2 days, and then it goes in the opposite direction and that's it. They get screwed. It has happened to me as well. So let's be mature adults and wait for the proper swing bottom. We are expected to be on a downtrend, and we should be making a bottom, if not in February, then later on, because of this low Mercury here that we're watching. We're moving at a very good speed, so there is not only bad, there are good news as well. This was a very fast speed here, very good resolution, right, for February 2026. I need to backtest the tiger. February is the month of the tiger. I want to backtest them to see, because the tiger is very honest. I want to backtest to see when a February dumps. Is that always on a bear year, or has ever February dumped in a bull year? I really want to check that, because I have a feeling that because the tiger is always very honest, that the February performance actually may be indicative of what year we're going to get. To my memory, whenever February has pumped, that's been a bull year. That's to my memory. So I'm going to actually backtest that after this video, because we can get a nice little indicator like that. If we backtest and we see that every single time February pumps, then we get a bull year, and every single time February dumps, we get a bear year. That will be quite a good indicator to guide us for the rest of the year. Okay, so as I said, it's squeezing orange juice from an orange that has already been squeezed. I cannot identify pivots, local pivots. 13th could be 13th of February, because one cycle is closing here, is reaching a bottom. Yeah, that's looking quite low. The 13th of February is looking quite low. But the Chinese is actually bullish for that day, because the horses are very big friends with the... Okay guys, so I'm so sorry I cannot give you any local pivots in this video. I don't trust the cycles anymore since October, so I can kind of comfortably speculate. I need to see some very serious convergences there on dates before I can give you pivots, and that is why I'm suggesting is that let's just wait for the swing bottom pivot, and then when I see it, I'll send you DMs and I'll tell you I'm all in, I'm entering long position on that date. And because after, let me just clarify something, is that when I said that 64 is my swing bottom date, that is not for the year, by the way. That is only local, but local in the sense that it will take us for 1, 2, possibly more months, right? The yearly bottom is a lot deeper, but I really don't expect it in the first half of the year. I just don't expect it that the market makers will give us a very easy life by just carrying on down, reach the 39K and then go up. I really don't expect that to happen. So my 64K is only for this swing bottom in the first half of the year. And we're very near that. We're literally 2-3 days away from that if we proceed with the same pace as we have been in the past few days. Okay. What do you want to achieve in February? Write down in the comments below, because I can think from my point of view that I'm waiting for a swing bottom. But those of you who are entering, who are trading futures and you're waiting for a swing top, then my date for that will be the 2nd of February, as I told you earlier. Let me just double check something that I cannot show on the screen. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, we're looking for a high around the 2nd or 3rd of February at the latest. And again, it just doesn't make any sense, does it? Looking at the price where the price is now, it really doesn't make any sense to be getting that. So we may skip that. So for now, I cannot, because the downtrend is so hard at this moment in time. It's so decisive. It's no longer messing around. Now, it's not like in January. In January, you had to be very perceptive to pick up that we're on a downtrend. Now, it's straight in our eyes. Let's see what bottom we're going to make. If we make the 64 bottom, I'm going in. And if we don't make a swing, if we don't make the 64 bottom and it decides to go up sooner than the 64K, I'm not going in. I will interpret that as a fake out up. Yes, one more cycle I wanted to cover with you, and that is the Mercury retrograde in February, because it is an exceptional cycle, because it has happened very rarely in Bitcoin's life. And this is what has happened last time. When Mercury is in Pisces and it goes retrograde, it has happened only 4 times before. On 2 occasions it has dumped, on 2 occasions it has gone up. So tell me, how do I forecast? How do I tell you which one is going to happen? Well, one way to do that is to backtest what happened before Mercury entered Pisces on these same cycles. So I backtested them, and before it was not similar to the price action that we got. That's why I deleted them. And I have written here backtesting not relevant, backtesting not relevant for those 3, right? For this one, the backtesting was relevant. A little bit, not completely relevant, but for example, it identified the pivot top on 12th of January, we got it on 14. That's not bad, given that it has happened years ago. Just to have 2 days difference is not bad. And then it identified the top in December. This gave it 10th of December, we got the top on 9th of December, only 1 day difference. So again, that's not bad. So this is the closest backtesting that I got from the Mercury retrogrades, and that bright yellow is what happens next, right? And you can see that this year is kind of more severe because the dumping started manifesting before that. The fractal was showing that the dumping will happen from 12th of February, and we got it a lot sooner. So keep that as a reference. If you want this fractal, DM me and I'll send it to you. I'm keeping them as a reference because these are real cycles. We are on this cycle as these fractals are showing us. It's a real cycle. It's not an imaginary cycle. However, they're pointing here. 3 of them are pointing that they're going up from the 6th of February, so we need to keep that in mind because quite a lot of them are agreeing on that. we keep that in mind, and also we keep in mind that so far, in terms of backtesting results, this has been the most accurate. What year is this one from? 2014. You couldn't make it up. But then also we keep in mind that when we're doing the 12-year cycle, so this is equally the 4-year cycle, the bear cycle, and also the 12-year cycle, the year of the horse. It was discovered that the pivots work in the opposite direction. So you never know, these pivots may work out in the opposite direction. But when I backtested that thoroughly, that actually was only 56% accuracy, that rule. So again, it's very difficult to know right now which way we're gonna go, but I said my bias is to the downside because that is the most common sense that I see here. I really do not see this reversing. This is not a serious level in my opinion, the 75k. And we have made a lower high to a very important level. So I'm expecting more to the downside, and we just have to be patient and we just have to wait. Okay, and then follow my tweets every day because I'm going to be doing some other back testing now on a cycle that I do not want to discuss right now. A, it's making the video too long, and B, I'm giving way too many cycles already, so I want to keep some of these cycles to myself. Particularly because the competition, I don't want the competition to know those cycles anyway. Okay, I've given too much information already, I've given a lot of information already, so I'm leaving it for now, everybody. And we will see. If I identify a pivot, I will let you know. So far, I don't feel confident to be reporting pivots. This is my special gift to those of you who bought the February forecast. I have given you some of my secret cycles that nobody else knows because they are not cycles from Western astrology. They're cycles from Chinese astrology, and I have given you various tops that have various pivots that have been identified in those cycles, and we're monitoring to see if these pivots are gonna manifest. Okay, we never know from those cycles what pivot in what direction is gonna manifest. Okay, have a lovely Sunday, and I'll be back in touch on Twitter. I'll be posting tweets every day with what I know. Bye for now.